Welcome.
Welcome
back to another episode of
Drunk Context.
Yes. So how you been, man?
I've been doing pretty good, actually.
Yeah, me too.
It's been another week. I forgot my tie, but
okay.
That's quite all right.
Okay.
We're gonna get by. Casual Friday for me today.
Word. So how's life? Life's good?
Life is good. Just been chilling. Same old. Ching.
Word.
Just been, another day focused on work. News, news and context that we've been hearing has been crazy as we go. Yeah. Where do we begin?
It's been nuts.
Where do we begin?
First off, I want to say shout out to everyone. Mad love to all the people out there. Thanks to everyone who's watching and supporting us. Thanks to all our friends and family. Shout out to everyone who's doing their thing, working hard, and trying to make it in this life. I know it's crazy out there, but keep your head up.
Love you, Mom.
Yeah, man. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Jussie.
Jussie Smolett.
Jussie Smolett.
Liar.
He's crazy. He's crazy. He's just a terrible liar, bro. Like, whosoever came up with this scheme, I don't know if it was him, I don't know if it was his team, I don't know whoever he was hanging out with was like, yo, Jussie, let's, have you ever seen Batman? You ever seen when, he cut out the pieces of the paper and, sent it to the...
Yeah.
That's what they did!
Like the fucking letter.
Yeah, they cut out the letters
like
and...
the serial killer fucking
Exactly!
letters. So...
They're like, yo, let's do that. Let's put a little powder in there, which ended up being aspirin or something.
Yeah, like grounded up aspirin.
Yes.
And they're like, I guess that's supposed to be like, oh my god, they sent me anthrax or some shit.
Exactly.
Like circa 90s wants its fucking terrorism back.
And then after that, what we're going to do, then we're going to get myself beat up, right? No, actually, you know what's crazy? What really happened was, apparently, he did get a letter or something sent to Fox, right?
Okay.
I think he sent it. But the letter, no one said anything about the letter. No one, so he felt like, what happened? Like, no one said anything? Like, so that's when he decided to do the, I'll get beat up thing.
He was like,
bring more attention.
I got something to run with. Now let me go fucking exacerbate the situation.
Yeah, because the letter wasn't getting any attention.
Right.
So he probably went into work like, hey, you guys got any mail today? And they're probably like, no, we ain't getting no mail.
So
and he probably was like, word, we ain't getting no mail. Now I'm pissed.
That's the first time I've ever heard anyone that's got a threatening letter and needed more attention on that. Like, it stopped.
But he created a threatening letter. That's the crazy part about it. No one's actually sent. He created a threatening letter and sent it to them.
That's the sort
and got mad because they didn't respond to his fake letter.
I see. You see, I've heard a lot of different aspects coming from this guy. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Empire. I never really watched the show. I know a lot of people.
I like it.
That was never.
I'm lying. I watched the first few seasons, so let's just put it that way.
So you watched the show?
I watched the first few seasons.
You watched the show.
It kind of fell off for me.
Yeah,
but,
I never really was a big fan of like the show. So when the story first broke, naturally my first thing is I read the articles, watch whatever video reports on it, and then my first response is go to the comments. I want to hear what the people are thinking. And when I was hearing the story, I was like, wow, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Seeing the comments, and someone, this is like when it first broke, someone said, I think he's faking it. I was like, how would he fake it? But then when I was like thinking about, when he got attacked, got a noose around his neck.
It was way too elaborate of a lie. You have MAGA hat, you have noose around your neck.
MAGA country.
You have some white guys in the south side of Chicago throwing bleach on him. It just sounds like a crazy story. It just sounds...
Especially Chicago.
It sounds crazy. It sounds really crazy. I'm not saying I'm not saying that I didn't believe him initially, because we live in crazy times. Anything is possible. So I was wary at first. I'm not saying he definitely happened to him, but I was wary at first, because it's totally a possibility. We live in crazy times. Right. There's a lot of hate and all that, but the location and all that, it just made it a little bit suspect to me.
I mean, the location could have been I mean, it could have happened in New York.
It's just that area is just not very known for that. I mean, New York City in itself is not very known. You're not going to see a lot of people walking around with MAGA hats on.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not known for that kind of...
Except maybe Staten Island.
You know. It's a different story.
but so when I initially had watched the story as developed, I did not post about it on Facebook. Like, I'm very careful about stories that I jump to, like political stuff, stuff for like in politics. I'll absolutely voice my opinion on it because there's grounds to it, and it's a lot easier to see the evidence that you can pull up and back up to your story. And I always try to have a neutral, like I don't try to have like heavy ideologues where I want to be totally left or totally right. I like try to have a very neutral kind of stand on it. I think that's how we should be.
Well, what I do, I try not to listen to people's comments too much. I try to go straight to the story and try to do my own research in a way. Because
that's where you get your bias at. I mean, you're just listening to natural bias from people who...
People's comments can make you like think that's, you know...
Yeah. And like I said, when I first heard the story, that was the first comment. And I said, you know what? That's actually a strong possibility. So I said, let's give it time. Let me let this develop. Because it's going to develop. It's national news. But even like when but everything about it...
I don't think he thought it was going to be as big as it did.
Well, why the hell are you going to be waiting 3 hours to news? Why didn't you tell your doorman, oh my God, I just got fucking beat up. I got chemicals on me. I need to get this off of me right now. You got chemicals thrown you. The first thing I'm doing...
That's crazy. You know what's also crazy? He didn't even find strangers. He found people that was on the show.
Yes.
Extras that was on the show. He didn't even find random people.
Because who's gonna fucking do that?
Like, I don't understand.
No one's.
But my thing is that if you're gonna do a lie, you might as well do it right. Like, what are you doing? Like, come on, bro.
You didn't think that these guys were gonna get found? No, come on.
I just think it's bad because, like, you know, there's a lot of people in that community, and him being a young black male too. Like, all that, like, being gay and being a young black male and all that, like, it just makes it look bad for everyone.
Right.
And, like, I do feel like the gay community should be speaking out more. Because it's one of those situations where someone in their community did something bad. They should be like, hey, you shouldn't do that. You know, they should tell him, like, hey, this is bad. This is really bad for us. You shouldn't do this, instead of just being silent.
Right.
Because when good things happen, everyone want to scream. So when a bad thing happens too, I feel like everyone should speak up and say, hey, this is wrong. You know.
Well, that goes into a lot of people's ideologies. Like I said, I always bring this up. Everyone has a very bubble mentality, and it's a problem with our country where we pick sides, and if our side is kind of caught red-handed or we're caught doing something wrong, we suddenly shut up about it. We stop voicing our opinions.
Because everything is all emotionally driven. Nothing's about facts anymore.
And because no one wants to be wrong. Like, you have, when people...
Well, yeah, that's emotions. Where does the emotion come in?
Emotions and the
ego.
And the ego and the ideologies that you subscribe to. Because suddenly now, if you find that something that you subscribe to is wrong, that shit fucks with you psychologically. You don't want to admit that publicly. And like I said, the ego and pride that comes into that. And, you know, like, that's the problem with the world, I think. And coming into this guy's case, that's why I said I try to stay quiet. Not naturally, because you don't know. You could be wrong. Same thing like how I felt like with the Kraft situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because we live in crazy times. Like, come on, people getting run over by cars. There's a lot of things happening in the world right now that is crazy.
Yeah, you have people being hung.
Exactly.
There are real
lynching is happening today, people. Like, you have to be aware. Like, it's crazy times. So, you know, I wasn't insensitive to saying, oh, he was lying right away. Right. Yeah, like you said, I took a little time until, like, of course, a lot of holes in the story made it obvious that he was lying.
Dude was having an ABC interview, and I'm looking at this guy like, this still look like a guy.
He called himself the gay Tupac, bro.
Really? Oh wow. Oh my gosh, that's you can't put those two. Those are two very, very different ideologies and ideas. So I don't know, but I know he was pushing his music stuff.
Apparently, he felt like he wasn't getting paid enough on Empire.
Yeah, I saw the salary salary discrepancies.
Yeah,
but,
because apparently the amount of money Empire was bringing in compared to how much he was getting paid.
But he's not Taraji Ali.
But not to mention, I heard he was getting paid like, dude, 60,000 to 100 an episode.
I think I saw 20,000 that he was making an episode.
I heard more than that, but anyway, 2060. That's a lot. Their seasons is long seasons.
Yeah,
they're not like
20,
10 episode seasons. They're
20,
long.
like 20 episodes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're getting paid. Like,
yeah.
Why can't you just relax yourself, humble, bro?
That's what I'm saying. There are a lot of people.
Play the game. Play the game.
Play the long
it's
game.
a game.
Play
It's
the
a
long
game.
game.
Play the game. Don't.
But now he gonna fuck himself up.
I mean, I guess he did try to play the game, but
in the most freaking dumbest. No, that's just dumb. Everything about that.
Because this
dumb.
happens a lot. There's been a lot of there's a
fucking
lot of
idiot.
people that are superstars and stuff that do this kind of stuff.
Because they're dumb.
That's what they were saying. Like with a lot of the big clothing lines, a lot of people feel like what they've been doing is
yes.
doing that for publicity.
Yeah, that was.
It just seems way too much of a coincidence. I can't understand why people feel that way because it seems
and Fendi,
Gucci, Fendi, all those people who Prada, all those guys who coincidentally around the same time, nooses around neck, blackface, all that like around the same time. Around the same time, it's just weird. It's weird. I feel like it's done purposely to bring attention to their brand. Yeah.
I mean, well, they know the country's in a divisive way. Like, think about marketing. Like, if you're in marketing and you're saying, okay, how can we reach out to the people that we feel that are more affluent and have the money to buy? Oh, well, let's use these divisive stuff. Let's get stuff to make people think like, oh yeah, we're on their side.
But what I feel is that the African American community spend a lot of money on Gucci. You're in the hood. Come on, growing up in the Flatbush and shit. Everybody wanted the Gucci and the freaking Prada and the, that was the shit.
Yeah, but
if you didn't have those high end, then
well, here's the thing.
You weren't cool in a way.
Well, here's the thing too. Remember back in the day now with Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy Hilfiger openly stated he was not a fan of the black community rocking his outfits.
Yeah, but something happened with Timberland too. The Tim's people.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that because we back in our New York or 90s New York days, that was.
Yeah, but there've been many situations where we said we've banned clothing lines, but we only do it temporarily though. We never like really ban them forever. We temporarily ban them, and then go back to buying them again.
Right.
Because they have a certain status in our community. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Those clothing have a certain status in our community. So no matter what happens, certain people are going to go out and buy them anyway. Look at Floyd Mayweather. He was acting like an idiot. Like, he was like, I'm going to buy my Gucci. He didn't care.
He doesn't care because it's all about me. It's a team of me.
Exactly. And he knows he grew up with that perception around him. Like, you wear Gucci, you're fly.
Yeah.
You wear, you have to like.
And
it's crazy because you never see a Gucci store in the hood ever.
Who the fuck is gonna afford that?
Ever. You never see a Gucci store in the hood.
Yeah,
never. You never see them anywhere close to the hood, but yet still they spend. I swear to God, if the African American community stop buying it, I feel like in the United States, they will go down a lot. In Europe, they'll probably still do very well because it's big in Europe. But the United States, it will plummet, I think.
I think so too, but at the end of the day, people are still gonna fucking buy what they like and they want to look fly, and it's because that's what brands are. It's become a form of status.
But there are so many different brands. There's so many
Yeah, but wear FUBU. FUBU's good. Remember back then?
If you think it's cool, wear FUBU. I don't know. Wear what you like, bro.
That's a problem. People don't know how to do that because if FUBU it's not going to bring a certain level of status. They're going to look at you like, FUBU.
But I feel like if you're confident in it and you know who you are, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, it should.
That's the problem.
Yeah, if you look like fucking Idris Elba and you were rocking FUBU, I think he's still going to be okay.
Yeah, I feel like what happens with a lot of people, like a lot of people who like those clothing and those brands, I feel like it's a insecurity thing, in a way.
Well, yeah. I mean,
like if you can't just go buy any shit and wear it and feel like you're cool, then that's probably an insecurity issue. If you feel like you have to get a certain brand or wear a certain type of, because some people say, oh, it's because they have good quality clothes, but there are other brands that have good quality clothes too, but yet still you buy those specific brands just because you know it carries a certain attention, a certain energy.
Absolutely.
You know.
I don't really subscribe to brands like that anymore. I used to in high school and junior high, or like junior high, and all those days I used to be like, hey mom, help me buy like, can you buy them Tommy Hilfigers?
Because
Can I get them
in
Timbs?
the hood. Yeah.
Can I get that Fat Farm shirt?
You grew up in the hood.
Yeah,
That's where all our money go. Our money go in like jewelry, clothes, cars. Like, we don't invest our money. Like, we should be buying the hood. We should be like, we don't own anything. We just, like, people be wearing stuff that weigh thousands of dollars, but yet still their home is not comfortable. They don't have good couches. They don't have good bed. They don't have, like, people are weird.
Yeah,
It's like the weirdest thing to me.
Because it's the group mentality. Like we're like I said, humanity is generally we herd, and we herd to whatever is closest around us and what we subscribe to. So if your hood has a certain mentality of status via clothing, jewelry, what you do and like how you hustle, if you got a whip, that's what people subscribe to, and they're gonna subscribe to the groups that's around them that's most fly like that because it's a form of acceptance. It's the same way how people subscribe to gangs as a form of like it's like a family, like a unit versus where because they don't got it at home. They come home, mom's working or they don't got no real like nobody like that.
They got shit to do.
Yeah.
Other than hang with the homies, that's really
Exactly, but you want to hang with the homies.
Gang members become family.
Yeah, because you don't want to be by yourself. You don't want to be seen as like that.
I know dad there, and your mom's working half of the time to pay the bills.
Yeah,
I understand.
It's that whole idea about the black sheep, that whole black sheep mentality. Like you don't want to. No one really wants to like stick out. They are like you have some cultures like in some white communities like some people like to be that unit of the rebel, we're the outsiders. Some people do subscribe to that. In the hood and growing up where we grew up at, you were that black sheep. You're just like, no, dude, you're just some fucking dork, some fucking weirdo, man. Get beat up, robbed, and shit like that. So what do? What's the easiest thing to do? Subscribe to either a gang unit.
Yeah, it's either
and then
join or
just be
outcast in a way.
Or just be outcast, and that's really
it's true. Because if you didn't, even in school and stuff, right? If you didn't dress a certain way or like have a certain kind of friends, then you're pretty much outcast in a certain way, man. It's nuts.
And that is the day in the life of how it is in this world. It just has not changed. It's always a social level of status. As you get older and wiser, you get into smaller things. You get like smaller crowds, but at the end of the day, you still want some format of a crowd. And see some people that
everyone want family, man, in one way or the other. Depends
right.
how that look to them,
It's true. That's true.
That's crazy.
To the next topic, what we got?
Robert Kraft.
My boy Rob.
My boy. I agree. I love that man. It's awesome.
He's just that dude.
He's a good man.
He's getting rubbed the wrong way.
He's a man who lost his wife. Who's been working hard.
Martha.
Just won a Super Bowl.
Martha!
Man just wanted a release. He was like, hey, I want to go to the spa.
Yeah, he
I don't want to spend a lot of money. I want it to be low key. I mean, if a man lost his wife, can't blame him. Man wanted, to get his release.
He's having fun.
Exactly. I can't be mad at him.
My take on Rob Kraft is this. It kind of goes on to what with the culture that we have going on in football with this these divisive ideologies. Some of it kind of even takes a little bit onto Kaepernick and the knee. Now, like I said, we know Rob Kraft if you've been following up a little bit about him. He maybe the last year or so, especially after the Super Bowl, was in contact with Meek Mill.
Yeah, he's been working with Meek.
Yeah, he met him. He said like there's a great interview that he has with like Kevin Hart and a couple of other guys talking about his meeting with this kid and how he was the kid like Meek was explaining to him the lifestyles of our community that we grew up that we understand. And this is a man who has never been for want. His children has never been for want and has no idea.
Had a pretty good life.
Yeah, has no idea what our culture was. really identifies with the kid. He says, "Oh, this is a smart kid. I like this kid." You know, he fascinated him. And this is the guy who knows, he listens to his players. He's got the Patriots organization. They have a great kinship with their players. I wouldn't say so much of Belichick. Belichick would be like, well, if you don't want to do what I want to do, then you can go off. Belichick, but Robert Kraft, he believes that if you have a good relationship with your players, make them feel like family. You know, and Brady has that same ideology. Like if they need trouble, they're struggling, because it's a unit. They got one job. They got to play 17 games. They try to go to the postseason, win a Super Bowl. But to have the success, everyone's got to be on the same wavelength. So to be on the same wavelength, you got to understand all the cultures and all the different societies and where all these people are coming from. A lot of these people are coming from either affluent families, from let's say that's like Julian Edelman, full standard white families, and like Gronk, whatever, full family homes, to kids who got just a single mom, who grew up in the hood, like the McCourty twins. It's just their mom taking care of them. You got like Philip Dorsett, all these young black players who come from like rougher neighborhoods. So for them to understand that, they are on the wavelength. And Robert Kraft gets that. He sees all his players as kids, because these are all people that are helping him better his business, better his brand, and so on and so forth. So share the wealth, right? He believes that. And with his meeting with him, he did something that no owner in the NFL has done. He saw this young kid in prison when he got locked up for doing wheelies or whatever.
You rarely see any NFL owner support any black.
Yeah, it's
any black players or any black person. Period.
It's general. They just have a general thing.
Yeah.
And which is why, like them with the taking a knee, he had such a very divisive stand. You started seeing how the owners were about that. Robert Kraft, when initially was like, nah, well then let's give a game where we all take a unified knee. Then Cowboys followed up and tried to do it. And then all of a sudden, Jerry Jones was like, yo, fuck that noise. You do that, you're gone. And then the league, following that, banned it. He wasn't really on board with that. He was like, no, they want to do that. They have the right to. This is what this country's about.
You see, this is why I love the NBA. The NBA let the players pretty much speak what they want and do what they want. Well, as long as it's respectable.
But they also understand that a large amount of these players come from
that culture,
from these like rougher communities, and this is opportunities for them. So you can't fucking have that kind of like mentality and block that. But NFL, you got like your ranchers and your Southern Texas guys, and and they're all these are people who love the game too.
Old white men.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're like, whoa, now this is America. Well, we shouldn't have this and whatever, and MAGA country and all that. That starts to kind of come out. It's like NASCAR in a sense, but it's not 100% like that. It's very 50-50.
They tried to flip the story, right? They try to make it seem like, oh, they're disrespecting the flag by kneeling, which had nothing to do with it at all.
No, we know it was about these young black men getting shot, and they're like, whoa, this happened to me. And you have players who are as the stars that they are,
come from the community,
and they're dealing with getting pulled over and have to deal with the same fear. I think it wouldn't truly resonate unless, let's say, God forbid, knock on wood, something like that would ever happen. But it would take a story where a great, well-known superstar, let's say Antonio Brown. Let's say Antonio Brown was driving, and he had a story. I heard him speak, but let's say in a more positive way. Antonio Brown was driving and got pulled over and was just beaten and then shot and killed. That would be the only way that people would start to understand, and it would probably unite the league.
You have to be a prominent figure in a way. You can't just be a regular guy, right? Regular guy don't get as much attention as
no. It'll be like, oh, who?
If it's just me or you, it's gonna be like, well,
so the fact that they're making platforms for these regular guys. But when you put it but let's say now you have a really nice player who's never done anything wrong. Let's say someone that you can't put a negative take on. Because if I said Josh Gordon, you say, oh well, he did marijuana. Maybe he had marijuana in the car. Maybe that was reason that people would always find an excuse.
No reason to shoot anyone.
Yeah, let's say now if I took the McCourty twins, let's say now they were together and they both got shot and killed. These are. And they have no negatives in their life.
It's a possibility, man.
something like that. That would be the only way that you would bring that. But coming back to the point with Robert Kraft. So this guy, seen this guy, understood. Went at the time, saw this guy in jail, had a discussion with him, and that's when him and Jay-Z, Mark Rubio, and a couple of other big names who decided to say, "Yo, let's
work on this criminal justice reform
alliance." Yeah. So they created that. So they got this group created. This happened and it was announced in mid-January. And all of a sudden now you got Kraft getting caught.
You never ever heard anything about him ever before, and all of a sudden now.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that.
And he wasn't the only big name on that list, by the way.
No, he was not.
But of course, the media
brought
his name
up. We didn't hear about the other guys. It was just Kraft, and you're like, oh shit, we got this guy here. Let's just blow him up. I think that's what you call assassination of character. It happens all the time in this country, especially when you have people who are trying to do something positive, and they can get a story that can really put negative on a person's name.
Especially with prison, right? You don't want to mess with the prisons.
Well, yeah.
There's big money behind the prisons. So anytime you mess with that, people,
So now you have a club or an organization that's being formed with some big names and big money behind that, so which can create some validity very quickly.
And he's one of the biggest names. Pretty much the biggest name behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, by far. I mean, him and Jay-Z, but that dude's worth $6.6 billion. Plus Mark Rubio, who owns the 76ers, that's another billionaire behind that. With another near billionaires like Jay-Z. You're creating an organization that's can really do some good. But now that affects basically the slave labor that you're getting from guys who, for example, in the wildfires was working for $1.
Yeah, the prisoners who have to work in the fires for really cheap. That's nuts, man.
And these are because those guys that they're letting out are guys that did small bullshit, is doing small time. They're only doing that because they're good behavior criminals, but then also you're putting their life in danger for a couple of bucks. They maybe got 2 years in their lifetime, and when they're going out. And the whole idea about criminal justice reform is to prevent guys who's getting locked up for marijuana charges, for nonsense, misdemeanors that are, that they should never see time for, and that could fuck up a young black man's life just because he has it on his record.
Well, yeah, they want you in the system.
Or young anyone.
Just going into jail alone.
Yeah, not to say black people, but
it could screw up your whole life. Going into jail alone could screw up your whole life.
Yeah, I've seen stories of guys
for nothing. You could literally go to jail for nothing. For people who go to jail for child support, bro.
Yeah.
You can't even be you could go to jail for that, and by the time you come out, you're even worse. You become a criminal. Put it that way.
Yes.
And when you're gonna go back in, it's it's a really flawed system. It's an extremely flawed
disgusting system.
Yeah.
And this is why it was brought to this man's attention. And so, especially Meek had told him this, and I love the way Kraft had eloquently put it. He's like, listen, I don't have, everything I worked for, learning the books, how I spit my rhymes, all that stuff is literal. I had to educate myself, push myself through, and deal with all the...
a lot of black men.
With all of the obstacles that are thrown our way. But here I am. And Kraft said, you know what? Wow, that really kind of put it in perspective for me. I never really seen it like that. And it goes to show that the ignorance that's out there. Because Kraft is someone who said, wow, as old as I am, I had no idea.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Dude, it's really hard to explain because people are just living their lives. They only know what they know.
They only see what's in front of them.
So, sometimes you can't really blame them.
And most people wonder.
But it's hard for a lot of people, bro. A lot of people don't have that support system that a lot of families have. A lot of people don't have that support system. So a lot of people are coming up, literally fumbling and learning as they go. Fumbling, getting up, and trying to figure it out as they go. They don't have anyone saying that, hey, don't do that, turn that way, do that.
Right.
A lot of people don't have that support system.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that. They forget that because it's normal for them. It's normal for them. A lot of people have it, so it's normal for them. So people forget that other people don't have that. Hey, you shouldn't go that way. You should go this way. It will make a way better judgment call. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't realize that there's a ton of people out there that don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me, like, remember when we were growing up, we were like, yo, we were like, black kids growing up in the hood, we were like, yo, bro, we're not going to become a statistic. Because we were not like regular kids, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And what ended up happening, one way or the other, cops ended up coming into our lives without us even doing anything, more or less. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
That's how crazy it is. You know, just being a young, I don't know, just being a minority, just being a person without a good family around, whether it be your mom and dad, sometimes it's a lot for, it's always a lot for one parent, not sometimes. And if it's a lot for one parent, sometimes they don't have no other family around. Sometimes it's literally just that one parent and their kids. Mm-hmm. And that one parent has to work and still take care of it. That's a lot. That's a lot to balance, you know. You know the saying that it takes a village to grow a kid? It's true. Yeah. You need everyone to put in a part to make a better person. Absolutely. You know what I mean?
And like I said, I've been bringing this word up a lot, but it's something that I've been trying to see. It's something that I do read a lot of philosophy, but even philosophy is flawed because I feel like philosophies kind of make you fall into that particular person's worldview.
Philosophy is flawed.
It's basically that.
It's based on that person's perception
of the world and their worldviews and how they want you to see it.
Yeah, it's almost like religion and stuff. It's like, you know.
And that is the biggest problem that I have, which is wrong with our entire society. Because like I said, like for example, we have religion, and then you have people. Let's say now religion and science. Mm-hmm. If I come up to you and I tell you something, we're like, oh well, you know what? Better yet, let's not use. Let's use people who are like pro-life, mm-hmm. you know, versus pro-choice. I think that's a really great example to bring up in terms of how I see people's ideologues and why people fight. You got one side. You got you have your pro-choice people who believe that one side just wants to control women, just wants to, insult them, and and just have their ways, like control what women can do with their bodies. They feel like it's low control, and then you have. And then so they insult these people. They be like, "Oh, yeah, no, you can't control me. I can do whatever I want." And then you have
in their perception, they're doing it right, and that person's doing it wrong.
Right? Yeah. And they bring up stuff like, "Oh, what if a rapist had, I should have the choice to not have that child." Then you have pro-lifers who will look at these people like, "No, you're murderers. You're and slander these people's names and just have this whole idea." And the problem with that is when you have these people that because what ultimately happens, it happens in these steps. It becomes an infinite argument. No one's really stopping to take each other's, ideas, or at least consider.
That's never going to change, though.
Yeah, but the problem with that, it ultimately leads to inherent violence.
Because everyone's trying to impose their ways on others, right? Yeah. And everyone feel like their way is the right way. I feel like the problem lies. We should let everybody just live their life, bro. Yeah. Fine if you feel those people are uncomfortable and you don't want to live that kind of life. Like we're never gonna get a world where everyone live the same type of life. Yeah, there's never going to be a world where it's all Christianity. There's never going to be a world where it's all Muslims. There is never going to be that world. So I feel like once we all understand that and just come to reality that like people are going to be different and people are going to live different lives. Mm-hmm. And if they want to come to your life, fine. But don't try to impose your life on them. Like just let people live. Like
this is why
all you could do is love people. Like if they want to live the way they live, that's fine. But love them. That's it.
But this is why I feel like it's in today's digital age and the way how our digitized society is. It's impossible because what happens now is that these people they find their groups like we find a pro-choicer will find their pro-choice group and not have a proper argument that's.
Well, that's my point. If everyone just let everyone live, then those arguments wouldn't arise. If everyone just let everyone live, if you just find your group and hang out with your group, and you guys could talk within yourselves about the other group, but don't impose yourself on the other group.
But that's naturally going to happen because
of course, that's what I'm saying. It's never going to change.
Yeah, because you got to understand, like, we're humans. We're going to still cross and mesh at some point.
No, of course.
And if you have someone that is, when you're so caught up,
but you can still cross and mesh and understand that this person is living differently. Like when you go to a grocery store, it doesn't matter what the person do when they go home. You're just there to buy your groceries.
Right. But that's the thing. Like if there's no cross weaving of these ideas, or at least proper debates and arguments, or where you can say, well, you know what, well you're good off in your way, I'm good off in my way. Naturally, inherently, because if you're only seeing your side of your argument and you cross over with these people, it just leads to just anger and insult and then eventually violence.
Well, that's what it is now.
And that's the problem. That's the problem with the world.
Because everyone wants everyone to live the way they live.
Yeah, and no matter how we debate it, ultimately this cross that we live in our digitized society is going to always bring that. So we could, whether it's racism.
I feel like we're losing. We have base rules, right?
Yeah.
Everyone,
correct,
regardless of what they believe in, what life they live, we have base rules.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, people believing that, stealing, stuff like that, we have base rules, right?
Yeah.
I feel like people start focusing on the other rules is what start fizzing things around. Like, all we need is those base rules to really have a community going. You understand what I mean? And if everyone follow those base rules and follow the life that their own life, then it's fine. But once you start paying attention to what everyone else is doing in their life, that's when it gets kind of foggy. That's when it gets kind of crazy.
Well, yeah.
Because you're not paying attention to the rules. Because everyone's kind of still following the rules.
Right.
But people still paying attention to what everyone else is doing in their own scene.
Correct. Yeah, well, you're always going to be paying attention because you're always wondering what else is out there. I mean, eventually you want to look over the fence, and sometimes you might not like what's going on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, but you can just step back. If you don't like what's on the fence, get back from the fence and go look over another fence.
Right. But then,
that's my thing. My thing is like, okay, if it's fences, for example, okay, let's just say boxes,
but then
right?
That's like
you have this bunch of boxes in front of you. If it's people want to be segregated, bro. Regardless if you want to believe it or not, people want to be segregated. I'm not saying by race or whatever, but by what they believe in, what they like to follow, what they, people want that. They do. They want to feel comfortable. They want to be around the people who think the way they do and like the things they like. That's just the way people are.
Man,
it's just always been that way. That's why there've been tribes, different types of tribes, it's always been that way. And we understand that it's fine. I understand it's segregation, but we segregate ourselves anyway. But if we have all these boxes and we look into these boxes and be like, hey, man, this shit is crazy in here. I don't think I want to. Why not just step back out instead of saying, hey, you guys need to stop doing that? Nah, you're never going to do that.
Right.
You need, sometimes you need to let people grow by themselves. Mm-hmm. You can't force people to grow. And that's another thing. You can't force people to believe in Jesus, or you can't force people to believe in whatever you want them to believe in. You can't force people to do that.
Right.
You kind of have to let them grow on their own. All you could do is be an example of what you believe in. Be an example of what you believe in. And if they think of if they look at you as a person and be like, hey, that person is like, oh man, that's a pretty awesome person. Maybe I want to kind of follow what they follow because I like the example they're leading. That's what I feel like people should be doing more. Be that example in what you believe in instead of trying to make people believe in what you believe in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But what if you're creating false truths now?
How are you creating false truth? You're not creating a false truth. All you're doing is just believing what you believe in. If they choose to follow you, that's up to them. It's their choice.
But what if you inherently know, or not to say maybe you not inherently know, but what if it's inherently known in a larger worldview that the beliefs that you carry are fundamentally wrong,
you can't force me to change me from believing that though. You still have to let me. You still, in your right, if you believe what I'm doing is wrong, in your right, you still have to continue doing you and be that example to show me. You can't keep coming to me and be like, hey, what you're doing is wrong, and you have to do this because you're doing this wrong. You know what I mean? Because it's never going to solve anything. No one's ever going to be like, okay, hey, fine. Because a lot of people change in different time, bro. People mature in different times. People change in different times. You can't force anyone to become mature. You can't force anyone to fall into something or believe in something unless they really want to.
But like, okay, so you gotta
I feel like being the example is way more powerful. That's just
what if it's like a really inherently deeply wrong? So like how you have cults, right? Who lead like mass suicides. Like that's a small example of, because this has happened in the past. But now we're doing stuff like this, like where you got like the kids who were doing the Momo suicides and stuff like that. And that I've heard that was possibly a hoax, but
I heard it was subliminal.
Yeah, like and then like you said, like you have things.
But that's different when you're being like
because now the gate is the gate is a lot wider of influence through our phones. Like this is the greatest freaking gateway to see outside the world, and it's not just locked to communities and stuff like that. Because now, just like how you have Amish people, right? You know, you have the Amish people, and they have their Ramspringer or whatever that they have, or if I don't know if that's correct, but if they have that to get out, where they have their like teens get out, and then they get a taste of the world, and then some of them get excommunicated. Then they say, "Nah, fuck that."
Some of them go back,
yeah. It's kind of like that same mentality, and then like their family is like shit, like. Now I lost my daughter.
Yeah, but they can't force them to come back, though. That's my thing, dude. You can't force, like, even if we have all these crazy devices and people are following this new cult or whatever, if a new cult comes around, people are just following them or whatever the case may be.
Because we're super influential.
People are going to do it regardless, and no matter how much you try to speak to that person or try to, like, tell them, be like, hey, man, like, a lot of people are just not, like, it doesn't happen unless they want it to, bro. That's just my opinion on it. They have to want it to happen.
Right.
And to me, the best way for you to help them is to be that example. Show them in your way instead of trying to preach it to them or trying to be like, hey, you need to do it that way. Because I feel like that kind of makes it worse for people. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. But then you got people that are just naturally rebellious, or they just...
Well, that's what. But some people you can't help, though. That's another thing. Some people you literally can't help. I mean, you could try your best, and that's all you really could do.
Right. Like I said.
Some people you can't help.
But that's what you see. But my point is that I feel like there should be a middle ground of like, well, you know what? Let's agree to disagree. I think people have lost that mentality where we can be like, you know what? We don't disagree. We don't agree on whole front, on a lot of deep whole fronts, but I could probably enjoy a game of Mario Kart with you.
Well, that'll go back to what I was saying, that let people live their lives. Like that's the same thing. What I'm saying, like, I'm not mad at you for doing what you're doing. You're doing what you're doing over there. That's fine. Like we could meet at like a bar or something.
Right.
But when you go home, you're doing whatever you're doing. You're like Satanist or whatever crazy life you decide to do. You're doing that, but not saying that when I'm at the bar, we can't have a drink together. And maybe when we're having that drink, you'll learn something from me and you won't be that person anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. You could just let people live what they have to do. And you're right. Maybe what happens with a lot of people, like, for example, when it comes to politics, that's why I hate the whole Democrat, Republican. I hate the whole...
Yeah, because
I hate that whole thing, because what happens with a lot of people,
sense.
When you get in conversations, as soon as you say any one of those words, it's a trigger for a lot of people.
It's a trigger, and then you're already put in a light where people won't take you seriously. Or you can't, or suddenly I'm like, let's say now if we were just talking about something really cool, and then all of a sudden you told me, oh, well, I'm a super Trump supporter, and then you're like...
All of a sudden,
and
you look at
like all the good, all the good that we've had is now suddenly walled off, and that's basically the point that I'm trying to say. Because you can have your ideologies, we no longer know how to disagree, agree to disagree anymore. We always have to draw lines in the sand when it comes down to some people. It's not 100% like that, but we're getting more and more to that point, especially the way people are thinking with leftist groups. comments. It's easy because
Well, you have to let people like what they like.
yeah,
though, like,
absolutely, and that's fine. But in liking what you like, you still need to have the tolerance to say like, well, you know what, this guy doesn't like that, but you know maybe I could still be friends with this person in other realms.
yeah.
We now cut people off, and this is the whole idea that creates violence. This is what creates wars because these are people who are fighting dudes who probably fucking have so much other things in common, but because of someone else's
Because
proxies,
they choose to focus on one little.
yeah, one little aspect,
Yeah,
and it's not,
yeah.
and most of this stuff is not even truly their direct like influence. They have no. We don't really have much of an influence in politics. There's a level of how we can go out and vote, what we can do, but there's still powers that be that are going to do whatever the fuck they want, and we're not going to agree with a lot of what the sides that we do. This is why I see people, they get quiet, they're like super loud when their politicians are doing what they want, and then when things come up, they get quiet. And instead of just saying like, damn, well shit, I feel like an idiot, like it announce that, like if you can announce and say that, yeah, your party did wrong, and you can be like, well shit, well it's not perfect. If you can at least have that admittance, I think there would be less bullshit.
Well, yeah, the system's flawed. No
We're
one's. Yeah.
but we're so much to the point that even if we know that there is the human error and that we're completely erroneous to like so many different ideas, that we're not fallible to corruption. We're not all fucking saints. You do it, I do it. We all do bad.
All Trumpsters still. Trump is perfect.
Yeah.
All Obama people think Obama was perfect.
Yeah, no, and it's
crazy.
not. And
Yeah.
and so like, but when you can't have this to say that, well, this guy, you know, he did that. You know, that's if you can admit that.
Yeah.
That's where
That's a
a
step
huge fucking step forward.
It is.
We're so fucking prideful. It's like with teams. Like let's say now with teams. I'm from New York, and I rep the Patriots because I like that organization. Because I always tell this to people, like, oh, it doesn't matter if you're from a town, if you're from whatever.
Well, yeah, I like the Ravens because of the defense. I love defense. I'm a
you
defensive
respect
guy.
the game.
I've always loved
You respect
defense.
the game,
Yeah.
and you can have a thing. Like people,
I love Ozzy too.
That's that's like the smallest part that I can use to identify with this argument. And I bring that argument when they tell me, like, oh, you're a Pats fan from New York. I said, yeah. Oh, you just picked the team. I was like, no, I actually been a fan of that team for a long time. But yeah, I grew up in New York. My brother was a Buffalo Bills fan. I got cousins.
No, I actually like the
fan.
team because of their schemes. I like the way they play. I like
absolutely.
you don't like the team just because.
I apply that to my life. I apply a lot of their work ethic to my life. How like, you know, every man is a working piece of the cog, that we all can do something, no matter how big. You don't have to be an amazing athlete. You don't have to be the greatest in the world, as long as you can perform your job at your peakest point. That's why I have respect for the team. It doesn't matter that I'm not from Boston, that I'm not from Rhode Island. It doesn't matter that like I can still have rep for that. And I will still defend that, and I'll bring that argument up every time someone sees me out here. We're in Ohio. And they see me in a Pats hat, and then I tell them I'm from New York, and they're like, "Wait, how is that? That makes no sense." I'm like, "It makes fucking perfect sense. I'm a fan of football. Just like you can like the bad guy in wrestling. You know, even though wrestling is telling you to like and favor The Rock, but then Triple H, but you still like Triple H. It's the same thing. Even though he's bred as a villain, you can still favor these people, and that's the whole idea that our country needs to kind of work on. And if anything, I guess WWE's got it right, because you can like bad guys, you can like the good guys.
I mean, Undertaker had a good following, dude.
Yeah, you know, and still be a collective of the overall sport of wrestling, and that's the problem that I see with the world, is that if you side with something, you can't like the other thing.
Yeah, you can't like anything about the other side.
Or you're permanently branded to that. Like, no, I've drawn my line. You can't suddenly just
And
switch.
you literally can't talk to anyone from each side either, because they both look at you crazy.
Right.
Because you believe in things from each side. It's crazy.
And that's the problem with the world. Yeah. Because I feel like it's going to slow down. You know, like, I believe in evolution. I feel like that's going to slow down the progress of man ultimately. And I feel like with the way our digital society is, there are more lines drawn through that and through Facebook. Like, I'll see people wouldn't talk to me or be afraid to speak up, and that's another thing too. People are too afraid to disrupt the order. of things, like by speaking up against something that they see inherently wrong.
Well, yeah, it goes back to
Excuse me. Why?
you know, people like to feel like they're in a group. People like to feel like they're bunched up. So if the crowd is going a certain way, a lot of people don't like to go against the grain.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
You know?
And that's become the biggest problem, because now we're
Speak your mind, man.
yeah, but people are afraid of the backlash. But if the moment we're afraid to speak up against a certain topic because we don't want to create this kind of discourse, especially if you feel it's something that's important to you, it's important to your ideology, speak up against it.
Not only that, listen, if you speak up and you fumbled or it wasn't right, you're human.
Yeah, you don't have to have all the facts.
Like,
you don't need
on.
like
we don't have all the facts when we're doing this.
Yeah.
We're just swinging it. We're just having a good time, having fun.
But we still have a voice.
Yeah,
and having
you know.
a voice is important.
Yeah.
And whether you're wrong or you don't have, or you only know so much.
Listen, I'm willing to accept when I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll be like, all right, you got it. I'm wrong. I had the facts wrong. I'm willing. That's all you have to do is willing to accept that you're wrong.
Yeah. And then sometimes you may not. And
Yeah.
sometimes we might be prideful, because sometimes there are things that I will stand up for and speak, even though I know I might be wrong, and still have that. At the end of the day, you're still a human, but you got to at least strive to be better and to at least say, you know what, maybe I was wrong on that. Yeah, you know, I'll take that on the chin. No one knows how to take that hit, or to be like, wow, yeah, I was wrong. And we're all so afraid to be called out and be called wrong on something, and then that we just shut up. And instead of just saying like, oh shit, well man, I didn't know that. Well, now I know. And yeah, but now it's like it's a dick punch,
It's okay
or
not
it's
to be
ego.
the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
So,
Thank you guys for listening. This has been another episode of
Drunk
Context.
we hope to see you soon. Again, my name's Andrew.
Matt, like, comment, and subscribe.
Please, and if you really like us, hit that little notification bell on the top right corner and check us out. We appreciate the support. We love you, and like I said, squat it with us in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.